Okay, we have a bunch more questions. What did I say earlier today? When we were approaching 10 o'clock, we'd have all the hands up, which we do now. Yes, over here.
Hi. Paul, you said before that LinkedIn is the B2B way to go, and I was just wondering if each of your B2B businesses, if you could briefly comment on how you're using LinkedIn.
My B2B businesses or clients I've worked with?
Each of you talk about your own business.
I'm a sole practitioner, so I use LinkedIn for connections. I participate in about a dozen different groups. I use it to answer questions. I use it to pose questions. I use it to promote work that clients are doing, because it's the best way to reach a professional audience. The one thing that you don't want to do with LinkedIn is just advertise. And you'll see that people will there are these abandoned groups in LinkedIn where you see people saying, this group has been taken over by the marketers, I'm out of here. You use it to participate in conversations, and as you participate in conversations, your visibility in the community grows and business opportunities arise out of that. The other thing I'll use it for is I do a lot of writing. So when I'm looking for sources, if I'm looking for a good story, I'll post it as a question on LinkedIn, and I'll have a dozen responses to that question in a matter of a couple of hours. But I'm just one person. I think for larger companies, that there are many more diverse applications of LinkedIn.
Don't use it heavily personally. Our company does host a group there called Measuring and Monitoring Social Media, and we have excellent engagement there because it's our community telling each other what to do, not us telling them what to do, because that would be a suspect. We do use it for hiring and trying to source references on people. We use Twitter a lot B2B because for us it's about human connections and building trust, and even though we're marketing to other businesses, we're marketing to the human beings at the other businesses, and we're trying to help them solve problems. I mean, an underlying theme to everything we've said today is that for all the money spent on advertising and Marcom and PR for all these years, certain things, like buying still sucks. It's still really hard. Trying to find the vendor you can trust who's going to still be there, doing that whole process. It is a lot of work. So think about ways you can make it less work for your customer.
We use it as both, kind of an outpost and as a destination. And by outpost, I mean one metaphor to think about Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn is that at the end of the day, they're a distribution channel for your content. A good social media system enables people to consume your content in the context of their choosing. And for us, LinkedIn begins as just another distribution channel for the content that originates on our blog or in our YouTube page or wherever. Within LinkedIn, I would say we use it primarily as a means for recruiting. And it's really great in that application.
Yeah, for us, LinkedIn is almost entirely a recruiting tool. I think to Laura's point that and at the risk of further harming LinkedIn's struggling stock price, that the idea that there should be a separate social network for businesses is not valid. Businesses are just run by people, and people are the same all over. And so you can use Twitter to connect to the people at the businesses, because it's not like even very large businesses. It's not like IBM is some there's some like particular mainframe. I think they would call him Watson, right? At IBM, who actually runs the thing. There are people making decisions all the time, and they are social people. Or they're becoming more and more social people. And so, LinkedIn is probably very useful for that at the moment. I think, Twitter and even Facebook eventually will become a way of connecting not to the business, but to the people who run the business, to the decision makers at the business. So we don't use it a huge amount for client prospecting. We do use it because right now, people who are looking to get hired promote themselves on LinkedIn, and that's very, very useful. But I think long term, it all converges back to a pure person-to-person social experience.
We have time for one or two more questions. Let's go way into the back again. Yes.
Hi, my name is Donna Rands, and I'm from South Boston, the home of Whitey Bulger. I don't think I'll be rushing back there today. But at any rate, to back up the conversation a few minutes to the mainstream media, obviously social media has had a huge impact on the traditional advertising channels. And so my question is, how does a company determine the right balance Should social media be used largely in lieu of some of the traditional channels, or should it be largely incremental? And so bottom line is, how do you minimize the redundancies between the two?
Paul?
When you there's this term called going viral that you've probably heard, where something captures the public's imagination and suddenly millions and millions of people know about it. In almost every instance, there is when something goes viral, it's because it hits the mainstream media. And so when it hits the New York Times, that's when it takes off and all the other social channels begin to communicate it. Mainstream media should very much be a core part of your marketing program. It should be for a long time to come. I think it will be a declining part. I mean, we saw General Motors declare 2 years ago, I think, that they were going to move a third of their mainstream advertising budget to social channels. A lot of the automakers are doing it at that same sort of ratio. But I think you need to look at mainstream media as being a catalyst for conversations. There are two different kinds of values. The mainstream media is a broadcast; it's a one-to-many metaphor. Social media is a many-to-many metaphor. So you use the one-to-many to advertise the many-to-many, and they seem to work best in that partnership.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, you want to allocate your budget in the media that work best for you, assuming threshold execution in both, right? So I think what we hear sometimes is that clients who have grown up executing print advertising, let's say, or some other form of broadcast media, struggle in the early days with social because, of course, out of the gate, it's not going to deliver the level of result that you've gotten, you can get from a medium that you're really familiar with. So I think that job one becomes, how do I learn to execute institutionally? How do I develop a set of capabilities across my organization to market effectively in these media? And in almost every case in my experience, that starts with a set of people who understand how to do that personally. This is a medium you can only master as a participant. It's very difficult to sort of master it as a practitioner from afar. So I would say, first, job one is to get to a place where you feel like you're executing in social stuff as well as you can execute in the conventional media. And then step two is just to measure in such a way that you can divide the pie and allocate resources to the ones that deliver the best result, which is the same as it's always been.
Just quickly, if you want to look at a perfect example of how these two were used together, look for the Old Spice campaign, last year's Old Spice YouTube campaign, and how Procter & Gamble utilized television advertising as a springboard to an interactive component that has been enormously successful. You can Google it, and there's all kinds of success stories.
So one of the first parts of the question in there was sort of how you make the decision as to how you should be dividing the pie. And one of the things that we haven't talked about here, but I think is worth bringing up before it ends, is that one of the best ways to figure out how to make those decisions is to leverage some of the both mainstream and also social media focused companies in Boston. Maybe not to use them necessarily, but to go talk to them. So to put ourselves out there for this, Scavenger's got 80 people. A lot of them are here now, and we know a ton of stuff about everything to do with social media. And Scavenger may not be the right fit for what you're looking to do, but Boston is an incredibly vibrant community with tons and tons of tech startups, ridiculously bright people, more colleges per capita than anywhere else in the world. And one of the things that really should be leveraged is, come swing by our HQ, come, go to Dogpatch Labs or any of the other incubators and just say, hey, I'm really interested in how social media can be used for my business because I've got this much of a pie to divide, and I'm trying to pick between should it be mainstream or should it be social media, and not everyone's going to be a good fit, but there are definitely people who, and I know speaking on behalf of a lot of other founders in Boston, who are always happy to talk about that and to give advice and to sometimes even say, hey, we're not the right fit, and for you, mainstream media is the right fit, or sometimes say, hey, we're not the right fit, but this other really cool social tool that's out there is. And so I would encourage everyone here to leverage the huge startup community in Boston for nothing else other than just to learn from people who, like me, spend all day geeking out on this stuff.
Find places to layer in and support where you're investing your money too. Some of the early Super Bowls, we all noticed, oh my God, everybody's on Twitter and blogs and stuff talking about each ad. Like the second or third kind of Twitter Super Bowl I was on the Bolt bus to New York with like patchy Wi-Fi. I knew how every ad performed. I knew which brands hit a nerve. I knew which ones were great. I knew which ones were bad. You know what I didn't see in the stream where I was searching the NHL or NFL hashtag? None of the accounts were responding. So, I don't want to call out the sponsors today because I'm incredibly grateful that they sponsored this event and that it happened. But it's totally valid and okay if you pay to sponsor an event to have someone there tweeting relevant things on the hashtag just to get your name in front of the participants. That's not real expensive, and it augments a big spend you already made, right? So if you're going to invest, and none of you are, right, dumb enough to invest $2 million in a 30-second spot, why not have somebody listening to the medium that complements the medium you invested a lot of money in as a starting point?
Excellent. We're going to end right there because it is 10 o'clock. This is radio. We end on time. And I do want to thank our panel, Paul Gillen, Laura Fitton, Laura at Pistachio Fitton, Mike Troiano, and Seth Prebatch. I hope it's not raining for you. Thank you so much. We're going to be here for a few minutes. I also wanted to thank our sponsors. If you bear with me for one moment, First Republic Bank, Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission, South Coast, Massachusetts, Delta Dental, Boston Medical Center, Salem 5 Bank, IBEW Local 103, and CBS Locals Pages. Thank you. And our associate sponsors, Nexamp, City of Boston Credit Union, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Canopy Lake Park, Arbella Insurance Company, Spalding Rehabilitation Network, Digital Federal Credit Union, Elite Matchmaking, and F1 Boston in Braintree.
And how many?
Go ahead.
am I-
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you
How
very
many
much.
of you? How